They always said the house moaned in the wind, but I knew better. It wasn't wind that made that sound, it was breath. My father's breath, pulled slow and ragged through the black lungs of a house built on debt, violence, and old Tennessee clay. I returned for the first time in 17 years, not because I wanted to, but because I had nowhere else to go. The sheriff said they found my father dead in his chair. The old recliner with the duct tape seam like a scar across its middle, TV blaring static because no one had paid for cable since he died with his boots on, which someone said was a mark of dignity, but all I could think of was how those same boots had kicked me when I was 10, split my lip when I was 13, and stomped my sketchpad into wet mulch when I was 15. Dignity. The word curled like rot on my tongue. The house smelled of scorched coffee and mildew, coppery like rusted blood, and something deeper, something wet and mammalian. His presence clung to everything, like nicotine in the walls, like fear in a childhood. I stood in the doorway for too long, key shaking in the lock even though the door was already open. The wind didn't howl. The house inhaled me. Inside, the wallpaper peeled like burnt skin. Dust danced in slivers of light that bled through the bent Venetian blind. His old war medals still hung above the mantel, oxidized and forgotten. There was a photo of him in uniform, stiff as a corpse, jaw locked in that cruel angle of control. I remember being 6 and thinking he looked like a hero. By 8 I knew better. I found the crows on the second morning. 3 of them, black and oil-slick and brilliant with watching. They perched on the porch railing like omens, heads twitching in that uncanny avian way, eyes full of calculation and prophecy. When I stepped out to smoke a cigarette, an old habit that returned as soon as my boot crossed that threshold, they didn't move. They studied me, judged me, knew me. I told myself it was coincidence. Birds were everywhere. But when I flicked the match and it hissed in the wind, one of them let out a sound. Not a caw, not exactly. Something deeper. A vocalization that curled in my stomach like a memory, like the grunt he made when the belt came down. It was then I started writing again. This journal, not because I wanted to remember, but because something inside me demanded it, like the house needed a witness. My father never believed in therapy. "You think the war gave me time to cry into a goddamn notebook," he'd bark, knuckles white around the neck of a bottle. "Grow a spine, or the crows will pick the meat clean either way." The basement door was still locked, padlock rusted into place. I didn't have the key. Maybe he died with it. Maybe it was never meant to open again. But I could hear things behind it, creaks, drips, the shifting of old wood, or bones, or memory. Last night, I dreamt of his hands. They were not calloused like I remembered, but smooth and childlike. He stood over my bed like he used to, breathing heavy, casting a shadow, so long it swallowed the whole room. But instead of yelling, he leaned close and whispered, "You're mine now," just like I was his. When I woke, the window was open, a feather on the sill, not soft, stiff and sharp like a blade. This house is eating me, or maybe I came back because I've already been eaten, and I needed to find the carcass. Maybe the crows know. Tomorrow, I'll try to pry open the basement. If this journal ends here, let it be known. I came back to bury him. But the earth isn't the only thing that remembers. Walls remember, breath remembers, and blood. Blood never forgets. I woke with the crow feather still pressed between the pages of this journal, my hand cramped around the pen, even though I don't remember falling asleep while writing. The light was grey, reluctant. That kind of morning where the sun doesn't rise, it just limps upward through fog, as though it's embarrassed to shine on this place. The crows were back, 5 now. They lined the porch rail like sentries. I stepped outside and one let out a call that sounded more like a laugh or a warning. I used to dream of escape, cities where no one knew my name, bars where no one knew my bruises, apartments where the walls didn't groan with every secret. But this place, this house, it pulls, like a wound pulling open at the seam. I found the crowbar in the shed, buried beneath rusted rakes, and the smell of old gasoline. It took me an hour to work the lock off the basement door. It screamed when it gave way, a sound so shrill and wrong it felt like something dying. The air changed. It wasn't just musty, it was
heavy, like something had been exhaling beneath the floorboards for decades, waiting to be acknowledged.
I stood there for a long time, hand on the doorframe, afraid of what would greet me down there. Not ghosts. No, ghosts are polite. They knock. This was something more physical, more intimate. The stairs groaned under my weight, each step like a verdict. At the bottom my breath caught, not from fear but recognition. The basement was colder than I remembered. As a child I had only seen it once, dragged by the arm, thrown down the top 3 steps because I said the wrong thing during dinner. I was 8. I don't remember what I said, only the darkness, only the sound of his boots on the stairs as he descended after me, the flick of the light bulb chain, the way the bulb swung like a noose. Now the space was lined with shelves, old cans of food swollen and ruptured with time, a workbench cluttered with tools that didn't belong in a home, hooks, clamps, things rusted beyond recognition, and at the far end, a wall of photographs, all of me as a boy, in shadows blurred and off-center, me at 12, drawing alone in the woods, unaware of the camera, me at 15, smoking behind the school, photos I never knew existed, hundreds of them, some scratched with ink, others with notes in his angular script, weak, too soft, just like her. I didn't know he even had a camera. There was a tape recorder on the bench. I pressed play before I could stop myself. Static, then his voice. This one's mine, my boy. He don't know it yet, but he's got the same rot in him, same spine of wire. Can't raise a man without breaking him first. My daddy knew that. Broke me just fine. Broke me good. I'll do the same. He'll hate me. That's how you know it's working. I vomited in the sink. The metal tasted like blood. The crows were louder when I came back up. Their calls echoed off the siding, wild and guttural. I collapsed into the chair he died in, that scarred recliner still dented from the weight of him. My hands were shaking. I looked at them, like maybe I could find a difference between his and mine. But I couldn't. Same bones, same knuckles, same ghost white scar across the back of the right hand. From a nail, from a lesson. I fell asleep there shivering, and dreamt I was in a cage. A small, metal cage hung from a tree in the woods. The door was open, but my arms were feathers. I couldn't reach the edge. When I woke, there was a crow on the coffee table. Inside, staring. It opened its beak, and I heard my father's voice again, not in words, in rhythm, that low cadence he used when angry, that slow, precise sound before the storm hit, the way he would say my name like it was a curse and a command. This house is a wound, the crows are stitches, and I am infected with inheritance. I haven't left yet. I don't think I can. The photographs are still down there. I brought one up, me at 6, smiling, my 2 front teeth missing, innocent, oblivious. He labeled it hope. I don't know what that means, not yet, but I will. The crows will tell me. They always do. It's raining now, not a storm, just the kind of steady, thin drizzle that seeps through everything, as though the sky itself is rotting and bleeding out slowly. I sat on the porch this morning and let it soak into my shoulders. The crows stayed dry beneath the awning, their eyes bright and unblinking. 7 of them now, 1 limps, a missing talon. I think I'll name it Cain. The house smells more like him each day. Sweat, oil, leather and something sour beneath it all, like the old army bag he used to keep his belt in. I found it yesterday in the attic, under boxes of war memorabilia and a decaying football helmet from his high school days. Inside were belts, not just one, all polished, worn smooth at the buckle, some with dark stains on the leather. One still had a little dried blood on the tip. I should have burned them. Instead, I lined them on the floor of the attic, side by side, like a tribute to the god of punishment. There was something under the belt, a notebook, one of mine. He kept it, my sketchbook from when I was 13, the one I thought he destroyed when he found the drawings of a boy holding another boy's hand. I remember the moment, the slap, the scream. Not in my house, he bellowed, eyes wild with that ancient rage, that fear he never named but always fed. But he didn't burn it, he hid it. Every page is still there, smudged, a little warped from the attic's damp breath, but whole. There's even a sticky note on the cover. Not mine, but blood's blood. I don't know what that means, not exactly, but I feel it like a stone in my gut. I went for a walk this afternoon, down to the creek at the edge of the property, the same one where he used to make me clean the fish we caught. I remember the smell, metallic, slippery, the way the guts slid out like secrets. The creek is lower now, choked with leaves. I thought I'd feel something there. I didn't. But as I turned back, I saw the tree. I had forgotten about the tree. Black oak, massive, still scarred where the bark never grew back after lightning split it. I carved something into that wound when I was 10, my name, underneath his, Jack Frank. It was supposed to mean we belonged, that I was his. Now the F in Frank is gouged out, replaced with a jagged symbol I don't remember carving, a crow, crude but unmistakable. And beneath it a third name, almost unreadable beneath the moss and weathering. Just the letter. I stared at it until my eyes watered from the cold. He never spoke of his father. Only once, when he was drunk and the TV had gone to snow, did he mutter something. He buried things, said the earth was cleaner than people. I think I understand now, somewhat. This house isn't just a house, it's a reliquary, a tomb, a nesting place for inherited violence. When I got back, the crow with the missing talon was in the kitchen, not flapping, not cawing, just waiting. On the counter beside the old bread box, it left something for me. A finger bone, human, small. I wrapped it in a towel and buried it in the yard. It felt right, like an act of mercy, like I had participated in some unspoken ritual. That night, I didn't dream, or maybe I did and the dream just wasn't mine. Because I woke with dirt under my nails, and my name carved into my arm, just faint, just with a pin, but there, Jack. Same handwriting as on the photo, same exact curve in the jet. I didn't do it. I don't think I did. The belts are still in the attic. I go up every night to stare at them, not to remember. Not exactly, more like to listen. They hum, a low sound, below hearing, more vibration than noise. The house is tuning itself like a throat clearing before a sermon. Something is coming, or waking, or returning, and I think I'm the invitation. I think he made me for this. It's raining now, not a storm, just the kind of steady thin drizzle that seeps through everything, as though the sky itself is rotting and bleeding out slowly. I sat on the porch this morning and let it soak into my shoulders. The crows stayed dry beneath the awning, their eyes bright and unblinking. 7 of them now. 1 limps, a missing talon. I think I'll name it Cain. The house smells more like him each day. Sweat, oil, leather and something sour beneath it all. Like the old army bag he used to keep his belt in. I found it yesterday in the attic, under boxes of war memorabilia, and a decaying football helmet from his high school days. Inside were belts, not just 1, 4, all polished, worn smooth at the buckle, some with dark stains on the leather. One still had a little dried blood on the tip. I should have burned them. Instead I lined them on the floor of the attic, side by side, like a tribute to the god of punishment. There was something under the belts. A notebook, one of mine. He kept my sketchbook from when I was 13, the one I thought he destroyed when he found the drawings of a boy holding another boy's hand. I remember the moment, the slap, the scream. Not in my house, he bellowed, eyes wild with that ancient rage, that fear he never named but always fed. But he didn't burn it, he hid it. Every page is still there, smudged, a little warped from the attic's damp breath, but whole. There's even a sticky note on the cover. Not mine, but blood's blood. I don't know what that means, not exactly, but I feel it like a stone in my gut. I went for a walk this afternoon, down to the creek at the edge of the property, the same one where he used to make me clean the fish we caught. I remember the smell, metallic, slippery, the way the guts slid out like secrets. The creek is lower now, choked with leaves. I thought I'd feel something there. I didn't. But as I turned back, I saw the tree. I had forgotten about the tree. Black oak, massive, still scarred where the bark never grew back after lightning split it. I carved something into that wound when I was 10. My name, underneath it, Jack. Frank. It was supposed to mean we belonged, that I was his. Now the F in Frank is gouged out, replaced with a jagged symbol I don't remember carving, a crow, crude but unmistakable, and beneath it a third name, almost unreadable beneath the moss and weathering. Meme, just the letter. I stared at it until my eyes watered from the cold. He never spoke of his father. Only once when he was drunk and the TV had gone to snow did he mutter something. He buried things, said the earth was cleaner than people. I think I understand now, somewhat. This house isn't just a house. It's a reliquary, a tomb, a nesting place for inherited violence. When I got back, the crow with the missing talon was in the kitchen, not flapping, not cawing, just waiting, on the counter, beside the old bread box. It left something for me, a finger bone, human, small. I wrapped it in a towel and buried it in the yard. It felt right, like an act of mercy, like I had participated in some unspoken ritual. That night I didn't dream, or maybe I did and the dream just wasn't mine, because I woke with dirt under my nails, and my name carved into my arm, just with a pin. But there, Jack, same handwriting as on the photo, same exact curve in the I didn't do it. I don't think I did. The belts are still in the attic. I go up every night to stare at them, not to remember, not exactly, more like to listen. A low sound, below hearing, more vibration than noise. The house is tuning itself like a throat clearing before a sermon. Something is coming, or waking, or returning, and I think I'm the invitation. I think he made me for this. The attic door was open this morning. I never leave it open. Never. But when I woke, I could hear it breathing. The house. The attic groaning overhead like a jaw working itself loose. I lay in bed and listened to the creaks in the beams, a soft scuttle like claws across the insulation. The belts don't hum anymore. They whisper. I hear words. Sometimes. Maybe dreams. Maybe memory. Or maybe the house has simply found my frequency. I haven't spoken aloud in days. Not to anyone. Not to the crows. Not even to myself. There's a silence here so deep it drinks sound. I tried to play music yesterday. Just something from the old radio on the windowsill in the laundry room. It hissed static, then cut to a song I hadn't heard since I was small. Long Black Veil. My mother used to hum it under her breath while she washed dishes, long before she disappeared. I turned it off. The silence came back like floodwater. I think my father is still here. Not as a ghost. Ghosts are echoes. This house has no echo. He's not behind the walls or in the shadows. He's in the marrow of it, soaked into the wood, hung in the nails like rust. I think he let himself rot into the foundation. Last night I opened the crawl space. I don't know why. My hands moved before my mind agreed. It was cold down there, wet. The smell was something between meat and mold. The light from my phone flickered, but I saw them. Bones, dozens, small and large. Some animal, maybe. Others, not. One had a wedding ring. I scrambled back, hit my head on the lip of the opening. When I crawled out, Kane, the limping crow, was perched on the fence, wings slightly open like he was sheltering something. A photograph. It was old, faded. My father as a child. Maybe 6. Eyes too wide, mouth too thin. He stood beside a man, taller, crueler in posture, dressed in a preacher's coat. Behind them a church with no cross, just a weather vane shaped like a crow. On the back, scrawled in smeared ink, Mares for Malachi, the M from the tree. My grandfather. I don't know how deep this goes. I don't know how many fathers lie buried beneath this soil, but I feel them, all of them, watching, waiting. I keep having visions, snapshots. I didn't live, a hand dragging a child through rain, a voice quoting scripture twisted into threat, the snapping of a branch that isn't a branch, a basement deeper than this house could possibly hold. The mirror in the hallway cracked last night. No one touched it. The crack spirals out from the center like a spider's web. When I looked into it, my reflection didn't move when I did. It blinked before I did. Something is becoming me. Or maybe I'm becoming something. I tore the belts apart this morning. Leather shredded, metal twisted into scraps. But when I returned from the creek, they were whole, back in place, lined up perfectly, cleaned. That was the first time I screamed since I came back. The crows cawed in unison, like applause. I sat on the floor until my breath slowed, until the silence came back, and then I whispered, just to hear myself say it, I am not you. The floor shuddered, the walls moaned, but the attic was silent. For now, I'm going to the church in the photograph tomorrow. If it still stands, if it ever did, I need to know who Malachi was, what he made of my father, and what my father was trying to make of me. The crows will follow. I think they always have. The church was real. I drove until the trees thinned, and the road turned from gravel to dirt, then to something even more primitive. No path, no signs, just instinct, the kind that grows from inside your teeth, under the skin, like rot knows its way home. It stood in a clearing where nothing else dared grow. Dead soil, brittle moss, the bones of fence posts long since consumed by time. The chapel was slumped like a drunk in prayer. White paint flayed from its skin, a crooked steeple, nailed together in refusal of gravity. And there, at its peak, a weather vane, a crow, wings spread, head bent. No cross, just the crow. I stepped from the truck and the air changed, thicker, metallic. The sound of crows echoed from deep in the woods, far but circling. I had brought my father's photograph in my coat pocket. I don't remember putting it there. The front door wasn't locked. Of course it wasn't. The door groaned open, like something exhaling after holding its breath for 50 years. Inside it smelled like mold and dried sweat. The pews were crooked, warped by time and moisture. A pulpit, still upright, bore scratches on its surface, words etched by fingernails or knives. Repent the Crowborn. In the center of the room stood a baptismal font, concrete, cracked. The water was black and still. I didn't look into it. The walls were covered in verses, scripture, but twisted, familiar cadences perverted into threat. He who sows violence shall reap the child. Spare not the rod, lest the soul be taken by the feathered host. And lo, the crow circled above, and he was called Father. It was then I heard it, hollow footfalls, upstairs, above the sanctuary, aloft maybe. My hands shook, but I moved. Old stairs groaned like they remembered every sin ever confessed here. The loft held a single rocking chair, and Bones, human, still dressed in preacher's cloth, moth-eaten, fused with time, a collar at the neck, yellowed and cracked. In his lap, a book, not a Bible, a journal, Malachi's. I turned to the last entry first. I couldn't read it all. The ink was smeared with what looked like blood, but I made out enough. The boy is too soft. His mother was weak. He watches birds like they speak to him. I beat the crow out of him, but it returns. It always returns. I hear the wings in the rafters at night. I lock the doors. Still they come. I buried the first in the crawl. I drowned the second. But this one is mine. Pages before it were worse. Drawings, symbols, rituals of some kind. One showed a man flaying a bird, stitching its wings onto his own arms. I dropped the book. My breath came shallow, as though the church itself was leaning in. I turned and found a window shattered. Through it, the trees watched. The crows lined the branches like parishioners. I stumbled outside, vomiting into the dirt. The crows didn't move. Kane limped closer. He dropped something at my feet. A key. I knew what it opened. Not the attic, not the crawl space. The storm cellar, behind the house. The one my father always told me never to touch. I pocketed the key and turned back to the church. The weather vane was gone. The crow had flown. I don't know if it ever belonged to the steeple at all. I drove back in silence. The sky had darkened. I think I passed the same tree twice, though I never turned. When I got home, the house was warm. Too warm, like breath. I will open the storm cellar tomorrow. I am not ready, but readiness was never the point. The question is no longer who my father was, or Malak. The question is, what have they left inside me? It rained all night. Not a storm, no thunder, no lightning, just rain, steady and cruel, like the earth itself was weeping into its own wounds. I couldn't sleep. The house ticked with dampness, swollen wood, and muttered warnings in the grain of the floorboards. I sat at the kitchen table with the key beside me, watching it reflect the dull glow of the fridge light. The key was old, hand-forged maybe, too large for any modern lock. It looked like something meant to keep people out, or in. When the sky began to gray, I stood. My hands moved without my permission. I stepped through the back door. The cellar doors were where they had always been, half sunken in the soft earth behind the garden. Rusted hinges, blackened boards. I remembered once asking him what was down there. He'd looked at me with eyes that had forgotten softness and said, "The things that make a man strong." I remember thinking he meant tools. I opened it. The hinges screamed. The smell hit me first. Earth and mold and something behind it. Salt, decay, like meat, left too long in a wet place. The stairs were stone, uneven, slick. I counted them without meaning to. 13. The cellar was larger than it should have been. At the bottom it opened wide. Rough walls supported by wooden beams, sagging under some unseen pressure. In the far corner, a lamp flickered on. I didn't touch a switch. I think the house was glad I'd come. Along the wall were shelves, jars, rows of them, each labeled in a hand I knew too well. Courage, obedience, voice. They weren't metaphors. Inside each was something preserved, a fingernail, a tooth, a slice of tongue, small pieces, as though my father had been taking things, or offering them. There was a table in the center, stained, shackled, and on the wall behind it, a mural, painted in something too dark to be paint. A figure, arms outstretched, black feathers bursting from its spine, eyes red, mouth open in song or scream. Around it children knelt, some smiling, some bleeding, all looking up. The door behind me shut on its own. I didn't try to open it. In the back of the cellar was a trunk. I knew what would be inside before I opened it. I knew by the way my skin crawled, by the way the house seemed to hold its breath. Letters. Dozens. From my mother. None of them were ever sent, stamped, addressed, each one folded neatly, some tear-stained, others smeared. She wrote to me, every week, after she vanished. He never let her go. He buried her in this house without needing a shovel. He buried her voice, her hope, her life. She called me her little bird. Said she saw wings in my drawing. Said she hoped I'd fly before he clipped them. I fell to my knees, and there on the floor beneath the trunk was her ring. I remember her hand, the way it trembled when she stroked my cheek after he left the room, the way she used to squeeze my fingers 3 times. I love you. I crawled to the mural and sat beneath it. I don't remember crying. I only remember the crows outside, the sound of their wings, louder now, closer. They know what I've seen. They waited for me to see it. When I emerged from the cellar, dawn had broken. The house didn't breathe anymore. It watched. I don't know what I am now. I carry her ring in my pocket, and the key, and something else I can't name. He thought the cellar would make me strong. That pain carves a man. But he was wrong. Pain is not the chisel, it's the mold, and I am breaking it. The house has gone quiet, not silent. No, that would be a mercy. Quiet like a predator just before it strikes, like it's holding its breath again, but for a different reason. Not anticipation, judgment. The crows haven't left. They circle slower now, lower. I woke this morning with one on the windowsill, its beak touching the glass. Fog from its breath haloing the crack. It stared. I stared back. There was no fear left between us, only recognition. I wear her ring now, on a chain around my neck. It's light. Lighter than it should be. Like it wants to float. Like it remembers flight. I spent the day dismantling the table in the cellar, bolt by bolt, board by board, until it was just splinters and rusted iron. I took the jars and buried them in the woods behind the house. One by one, I whispered names I'll never know over each one, prayers in reverse. But still, the house watches. I found another journal, not my father's, not Malachi's, mine. Except I didn't write it. At least I don't remember writing it. The handwriting is mine, but not mine. Each page written in a fevered hand, pressed deep into the paper like it was carved. It begins with a date, the day I returned, and it ends with yesterday. Each entry recounts what I've done, but differently. In this version, I never left the house. In this version, the crows do not watch. They speak. In this version, my father never died. The last page says only, tonight, the fire or the feather, choose. I burned the journal, watched the flame consume the pages, like dry leaves. The smoke was bitter, sweet, familiar. And then I heard him. Not a hallucination, not memory. His voice, from upstairs, calling my name. The same voice that used to bark commands from the porch. The one that whispered threats behind a closed bedroom door, but softened now, thinned by time or by death. A thread pulled taut. I climbed the stairs, every step a decade. At the top, the hallway stretched longer than it should have. The air warped. Photographs I didn't remember hung on the walls. Me at different ages. In each he stood behind me, hand on my shoulder, smile painted on like a wound. The bedroom door was open. The room smelled of ash and pine. He was there, sitting in the recliner, alive, or something like it. He looked the same, older, maybe, grayer, his eyes hollow but burning. Thought you'd run again, he said, like your mother. I stepped inside. My hands were fists. You buried her. He nodded. She wanted to take the wings from you, but I saw what you were, what you could be. I stepped closer. You turned me into a grave. He smiled. No, I carved you into a cathedral. I don't remember lunging, just the impact. My fists, his face, over and over until I wasn't hitting him anymore. Just the chair, just the air. He was gone. Never there. The room was empty, and on the bed, my old bed, lay a single crow feather. White. I carried it outside. The crows were waiting in the trees. The sky was burning orange with the coming dusk. I stood in the center of the yard, the house behind me, her ring at my chest, the feather in my hand. I lit the match. The house didn't scream, it sang. The flames were eager. Every board, every memory, every whisper soaked in years of grief and gasoline. The crows circled once, then scattered. I stood until the walls collapsed, until the smoke painted the sky, until nothing was left but ash and the ring. It didn't melt. I buried it where the tree once stood, the one with the names, Jack, Frank. Emma carved a new one, Mother, and under it, me, not Jack.
Just me. I sleep in the truck now, on the edge of the woods. The crows still come, but they keep their distance. I think they're waiting, but not for me. For someone else, someone who will come to see what this place once was, and find only earth.
The smoke has settled. Ash coats everything. The trees, the truck, my skin. I don't wipe it off anymore. It feels honest, like a second skin grown from the wreckage. Like proof I survived something that should have eaten me whole. There's no house now, just the charred outline. A negative space where memory used to live. I thought it would feel like freedom. It doesn't. It feels like standing on a stage after the curtain drops, the audience gone, the lights cold. I haven't spoken in days. There's no one to speak to, but the silence isn't empty. The crows have changed. They don't cry out anymore. They don't gather. They watch from a distance, as if unsure of who I am now. Or maybe they're mourning. I wonder if they see me as orphaned, or liberated. Maybe it's the same thing. I found a feather in my boots this morning. Not black, not white, grey. Balanced. I buried it next to the ring. I walk the woods most days. Long loops, without direction. Sometimes I find things I left behind. Bones, rusted tools, fragments of drawings. Once I came upon my own voice, echoing between two oaks. I didn't chase it. There's a rhythm to grief that no one talks about. A lull between beats where you forget the weight, and then it rushes back like a tide. I live in those tides now, sometimes drifting, sometimes drowning, sometimes floating just high enough to breathe. A week ago, I woke to find a boy standing at the edge of the trees. 7, maybe 8, pale, hands in his pockets, eyes too old. He didn't speak, just watched, like the crows do. Then he turned and walked into the woods. I didn't follow, not yet, but I know I will. There's something calling still, not the house, not the men who lived in it. Something older, deeper, maybe something that's always waited for the last sun to fall. I've started drawing again, only in pencil, only at night. I don't plan what I draw, I just let my hands move. Wings, trees with mouths, eyes inside hollow stumps, and once, my mother's face clear and soft and whole. When I finished that one, I cried for the first time since the cellar. Not the kind of crying that breaks you, the kind that lets the rot drain out. Sometimes I dream of the church again. It's different now, empty, the crow with a vein missing, the mural gone, but in its place a window, stained glass, a woman with black wings and an open hand. I think she's waiting too. This story isn't over, but the fire has passed. Now comes the reckoning of silence, of healer, of choosing what comes next. I followed the boy, not right away. It took me 3 more nights of waking to find him standing at the edge of the woods. Same place, same posture, hands in his pockets, eyes like ice water. On the 3rd night he nodded, barely, as if to say, it's time. He never made a sound, just turned and stepped between the trees like slipping into a vein beneath the skin of the world. I followed barefoot. The forest swallowed the moonlight. Branches snagged at my sleeves like fingers, but the path was clear. Not a trail exactly, but a pressure. The trees leaned away from it. The ground remembered footsteps. We walked for what felt like hours, and then he stopped. A clearing, smaller than the last, ringed by dead stumps, their insides carved out by time or blade. In the center a mound of earth, fresh, no marker. But I knew it wasn't new. It pulsed in the air like an old bruise. He pointed, I stepped closer. There was something humming beneath the soil, not a sound, more like heat, memory. When I knelt, I saw it, bones just below the surface. Child sigh, one hand still clutching a wooden cross. Half burnt. Who was he? I asked. Finally breaking my silence, the boy tilted his head, then slowly, with a voice like old leaves. He was the first. I wanted to ask more, but my throat closed, not from fear, from recognition. I'd seen this boy before, in the photos in the basement, in the mural, watching from the shadows, Malachi's son, the one who didn't make it, the one my father never spoke of. You're my uncle, I whispered. He nodded once, then vanished into the trees. I stayed until dawn. I dug the rest of the grave, cleaned the bones, wrapped them in my coat. When I returned to the ruins of the house, I laid him where the hearth used to be, where warmth had once lived. I lit no fire, just sat. The sun rose slow and reluctant. The crows returned, one by one. They landed on the beams, the ashes, the rusted frame of the truck. Silent, observing, a congregation, and then Cain landed beside me. He opened his beak and dropped something into my hand, a single tiny bell. I didn't understand, not then, but I tied it around the wrist of the boy's skeleton with a thread from my shirt. When it rang in the breeze, it sounded like laughter, or weeping, or both. I buried him properly, spoke aloud. I free you from silence, from forgetting, from the name they took. The crows flew, not upward, into the sky with sudden purpose, as if carrying something with them, or someone. The wind shifted, the air lightened, but deep inside, something stirred. Not a shadow, not a curse, a door, and I think I'm the key now. The door was never locked. I think I always knew that, but after I buried him, my uncle, the first, they stopped whispering. The bones, the house, the trees, even the crows. Silence came not as punishment, but as permission. I stayed, not out of guilt, not out of fear. I stayed because I couldn't walk away from the place that birthed so much ruin without giving it one clean breath, one true word, a name that meant something other than rot. I built a marker, for my mother, for Malachi's son, for me. A circle of stones and a single crow feather cast in resin, set at its center. Around it I planted seeds I found in the cellar. Old sunflower husks, half-rotten beans. Nothing should have grown, but they did. Maybe the land needed a witness more than a cleansing. Maybe that's what I am now, a witness. The nights are still long. I sleep in the open, under canvas and crow song. Sometimes the stars whisper in patterns I don't understand. Sometimes I dream of fireflies shaped like eyes, blinking softly from inside the bark of tree. Once I saw my father again, not as a man but as a shadow made of feathers, pacing the edge of the clearing, never crossing. I didn't speak to him. He didn't deserve the word. The house doesn't exist anymore, not physically, but some nights I see it rise in the smoke of my fire-twisted beams, the black recliner, the attic where the belts once whispered, and I speak over it. I name every piece and unname it. I strip it of power. I have learned that forgiveness is not absolution. It is choosing not to carry the blade they used to carve you. Some strangers came a few weeks back, campers. They asked if I knew what used to be here. I told them. A family that forgot how to love without bleeding. They laughed. Nervous, they didn't come back. I walk the woods every morning. I follow the paths I once feared. The clearing where Malachi's church once stood is nothing but moss now. But if you listen long enough you can still hear the echo of a hymn that was never holy. Cain still visits. He's older, slower, but when he lands on my shoulder, I feel less alone. I think he's the last of them, or maybe the first of something new. Sometimes I write in the dirt with a stick, then erase it with my heel. Words like survive, choose, mother, me. I don't need this journal anymore, not really, but I finish it. Because endings matter, because the last word spoken must be mine. Not his, not theirs. The bell still rings when the wind is right. It sounds like mercy, or a warning, or both. I will stay here until the last crow leaves, and then I will follow.